So he's here.
He's just pulled in. He was on the phone a second ago. We can call him back. Like, I'm going to call him back on the phone while he's walking in the door. So we have the official quorum.
Would we perhaps be about 5 public
Well,
comment?
Consider approving the agenda. Okay, Joe, we're on the official agenda and we're going to take item number 4 is considering approving the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion was made by Joe Pinto, seconded by Jenna Carvanis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion stands. Thank you. Public comment for agenda items only. Number 5, there are no public comments tonight. Awesome. Item number 6, considering approving the minutes from the August 17th meeting. Do I have a motion? Motion was made by Joe Pinto, seconded by Jenna Carvanis to accept the minutes from our August 17th meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion stands. All right, item number 7, presentation update. We don't have anything on that regard that evening, so we will move to item number 8, land development review. This is discussion and possible action on 3111 Sawmill Lane development application. It was presented to the zoning hearing board in February, which was approved, and it was returning to the planning commission on September 28th. Janet, do you have any comments regarding, and then Zach, if you could pull that plans up, please. Janet, do you have any comments on this particular application?
Well, I think we need to discuss the riparian buffer. The width of it. And possibly also what kind of plantings would be put in that area there. We always like to be able to see native plants, native trees, good for the environment.
Absolutely.
Right, so as you see, Joe, if you had a chance to look at that property, it is presently a 1-story home and they're going to be developing 3 new single-family dwellings. There's one property that will have a shared driveway with a bridge, and that'll be lot 1 and 2, and building number 3 will be a standalone unit as well. So the question, I guess, is the variances that are requested are for property number 3. Presently, we require 175 feet required for variance from the front footage, and I guess they're offering 76.62 feet. So that's something that we can make, our recommendations to or against from the planning commission. The shared driveway is something that they're also asking for a variance on. And they're doing that for environmental reasons to try to limit the paved surfaces. So that was interesting. And they all also looking for a variance to have the culvert replaced and their underground utilities replaced. This property is presently in the floodplain management district. And they are looking for a waiver to request to have a preliminary and final for their plans. And they are looking at having the riparian buffer, which would normally be 50 feet from a zoning. They're asking for 25 feet. So Cindy, Janet, you mentioned your concerns about that. And you want to bring that up in the, Zach, can you bring that plans up so we can see this? Janet, do you want to look at go to the thing so we can look at it further deeper in line?
If I could find where it is on the map. This is about increasing the riparian buffer. With the flooding that we've been having, that we've reached sometimes 100-year flood already.
Yeah, sure.
All. So to reduce that, needs to be going back. Our time. Could be that we would like to see this big study, keeping with our sustainability.
Right.
Sure. Just a couple points I want to make in regard to your explanation about the zoning applications were approved. So everything that we discussed that you mentioned in regard to the lot frontage, and that's already been approved by the zoning hearing board. The impact with the culvert in the areas of the flood hazard district, that special exception was granted. The application, this particular application for the preliminary final will be in front of the planning commission next Thursday. And at the moment, we don't have the final review letters back from our professionals, meaning Mr. Hoshbach, who's the arborist and professional serving on behalf of the Shade Tree Committee, nor do we have the township engineers review back. And also this site will be serviced with public water or a public sewer extension or connections to the mains. So that's another just point I wanted to make. In regard to the repairing buffer zone and the additional protections you want to offer, I think that that's a wise recommendation to offer to the planning commission. Because I haven't been here in a couple months, wasn't there a form that the committee, the advisory committee will fill out to offer the recommendations? And then if you would do that, we would certainly submit that over with the planning commission's application and place that on their agenda.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably do it as, obviously tomorrow would be our procedural requirement. If it's problematic, we can accept it Monday morning and I'll make sure it gets on the planning commission's agenda.
So we have to really kind of, Joe, when we're talking about the particular plans at 3111 Sawmill Road, we're talking about the, they're asking for a 25-foot riparian buffer requirement versus the 50 feet. And that is right now, what I was concerned about is, since this is nearly 14 acres and that whole area is adjacent to Sawmill Park and Skunk Hollow and all part of Radnor Township. And if you've ever been back on the Radnor side of this, you're all down slope. I mean, you're
That's
into
correct.
heavy things. So our concern was, and since this property was previously owned by Mr. Montgomery, has there been a wetland study back there on this particular property? And has any wildlife impact study been done? Because that is.
Again, not to my knowledge.
Okay, so we would need, so we would recommend that we have a wetland study as well as a wildlife impact, because this area is a native, I mean, you're unique in sense of being attached to Radnor's, I think, what does Radnor have, like 70 or 80 acres there?
I'm not sure, but I know it's adjacent to the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Radnor has a unique property adjacent to this property. And would it be advisable for us to get some input from them as well? Because their EAC would be impacted because the water that comes through, this is Thomas's Run comes through this, and that's part of Darby Creek. And if Cindy was on the phone, we could shoot, I believe it's a first order stream. I forget if that's in fact, I believe it is.
Yeah, it may be.
Yeah.
Here again, I don't do that. That's not part of my evaluation.
Right, but that Thomas's Run goes directly into Darby Creek on that side. Perfect. All right. So then he's coming in. So I guess the question is, we would also make a recommendation for the wetland and the wildlife.
Sure.
And you brought.
And any shared information with Rad.
Yes, we would love to see what their impact is, because here we come, right here where the property is. If you can see, John, see this is where they're putting in the third house.
Yes,
Right.
I know that's down.
This is, and I believe this was, when I was looking at some of them out, I think this was like 246 as low as it was, and it was like 265 up here. Yeah, but they're also looking to put in a bridge over where they're putting in the first driveway. And
Well, they're using the existing, they would put a new driveway cut serving lot 3 directly off of Sawmill. There's an existing driveway cut on Sawmill that's currently serves an existing single-family home. That will become a shared driveway that will be between lots 1 and 2. It's that bridge or that existing driveway. There's already a culvert under it to pass the water into through that area into Thomas Run. That's design that they're proposing to install a larger culvert to facilitate more stormwater passing through there. To better the system.
Right.
And they've gotten the relief that they needed from the zoning hearing board in which to do that because that is located in the floodplain.
Right.
So that's the reason why that culvert is there. It's to serve, it's to improve an existing culvert to accommodate the shared driveway serving what is now going to be lots 1 and 2.
Which also accommodates the fire truck.
Exactly. That's exactly correct.
All right, and the other questions, Janet, did you have any other thing about this particular property?
Did not see exactly what kind of plantings they were.
I did not see, and there is no arbor report. I didn't see.
We don't have the arborist
Arborist,
report
right.
as of yet. Here again, typically they're due the week before, which is, tomorrow.
Well, this has been on the schedule
for.
since February, and I think what happened is last month we were talking about removing it, and the issue just started back up September 4th, because I think that was the impetus to like, if you don't take action, it was going to be removed. My concern was, I mentioned about the wetlands and I meant about the wildlife, but the steep slopes, so that, do we have an idea of how steep that slope is that they're talking about? In
Well,
that
there's
drive?
two areas and they meet our definition. If you look at the plans prepared by Mr. Damon, there's 2 identifying slope districts that meet our current ordinance as steep, 15 to 25%, and then very steep, which is over the 25% marker. They're identified on sheet C2 of the plan.
Okay.
And you'll notice that there's different shadings. So there is certainly areas affected by steep slopes. I don't believe that any of the homes are located in steep slopes, but I will say that there are significant areas of driveway that impact steep and very steep slopes. So in accordance with our slope conservation requirements, they have to limit the impacts to a certain percentage based upon the lot area. So that again is being reviewed by the township engineer.
Okay.
But unfortunately, we don't yet have his review letter for this meeting. These plans were just submitted August 30th, and obviously his review's not due until tomorrow.
Right.
So then the planning commission is not under a deadline to pass or not?
Well, the planning commission is always under a deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as soon as they file a preliminary / final
Yes,
application, there's a time clock that starts under the MPC. And actually that time clock will start next Thursday, because the original presentation that was offered to the planning commission was done under a sketch plan. So that plan doesn't generate a time clock. It's when they file a preliminary and final plan.
and how
And
long
that's
is that
what this
time
is.
clock normally?
90 days,
Okay.
90 calendar days from the date of the first appearance before the planning commission.
So I was thinking in terms of a wetland review, that's not going to be able to be happening
Well,
anytime
we
quickly.
can ask
And
for
most
it.
of that they have to do in order to achieve their NPDS permit. So, you can certainly offer whatever recommendations you have this evening for the planning commission to consider.
Right.
And if you want further information, you're welcome to ask for that.
Right, but they haven't presented any landscaping plans for,
Well, I
planting in
do
the
have-
steep slope
no,
or anything like
I
that.
do
right?
have a plan that was submitted again by Mr. Damon. Again dated August 30th. I don't know, obviously, it sounds like you weren't given that plan. Zach, do we have that on the screen? It would be titled landscaping.
No, I didn't see that on there. Did you see that, Janet?
It's
I didn't
titled
see landscaping.
plan. I'll bring what I have up to you.
Oh, great.
So you can kind of
Total
go
area,
over it.
Yeah.
This is something that's going to be reviewed, obviously, by our arborist.
Okay, great.
And again, we don't have his review letter as of yet due to the timing of it.
Okay. And so this,
here is,
these are all just proposed. Planning schedule.
And there's also, I can also share with you folks,
You know.
there you go.
Yeah, see, we didn't see this at all because I never saw the trees that were being
Yeah, it
removed.
was on the agenda.
Oh,
It
okay.
was published to the agenda, but there's also a list of trees that they're
there you go.
suggesting to be included.
These are, they're removing.
Yes, these are the. And because I did see they had a lot of ash, they had a lot of dead trees. I mean, it's been a
Yeah.
vacant property for years. I mean, that particular area, a lot of wildlife is back there. A lot of vines, a lot of invasives, a lot of
Sure.
everything. So
And again, our shade tree committee has not yet
even taking a look, yeah.
taken a look at this plan as well. This is kind of a first blush.
So there's
Removals.
a portion, I believe, at each property, there's like 3 acres at one, 4 acres and another. What are they doing with the balance of the land? Is that being part of that walking?
All the land is included in each of the deeds.
Okay,
So there's no excess land that will be left over as part of an HOA.
Conservatory.
All the land associated with this one property is now being subdivided
into
into
3.
3 parcels.
But I thought part of the plan was going to be, there were going to be access from the back of the property that's adjacent to Radnor Township to the Sawmill Park area.
But I think that's done through an easement.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because they were looking, the Sawmill Park comes through here and they were looking to connect into that trail. Because that is a dangerous area for people to be walking back that area. And you're very limited. I mean, you come around the bend rather tight. And it's really impassable. And I've seen people who have tried to walk that, it's been rather dangerous. So I think with our recommendations, anything else that we can, and the neighbors, I guess, I think it would be important because technically Radnor isn't the neighbor that's attached. And are they notified because it's outside of our township?
That's a good question. And I really don't have the answer for it. I don't know that there's any hard and fast rule that we notify them. I know in the past, we've taken the precaution in regard to zoning matters, we've taken the precaution to notify the adjacent municipality.
Right.
That came up on a couple different zoning applications, but let me look at the list.
But the entire side is Radnor Township. That's all of their Skunk Hollow Park and that's
Right,
their deeded
right.
property.
I'm just looking at the mailing list to see if we recognize Radnor Township at all.
And so you're saying they've already gotten approval for having that setback at 76 feet
The
That's
front yard.
from the
Yeah,
front, okay.
And that's kind of an issue between our zoning code and our land development code.
Hmm.
And so our zoning code in the R1 district or in any of the residential districts, we specify a specific lot frontage requirement.
Right.
And let's say R3 would probably be the least, and I'm going to say off the top of my head, that's 80 feet. Nowhere in our definitions or in anywhere else in our zoning code do we speak of flag lot. Typically, flag lots are somewhat of a normal feature you would find in a zoning code, and typically flag lots may have a 50-foot wide frontage where it meets the public road, and then a stem, and then the lot itself would be considered the flag.
Okay,
And then there's certain dimensional requirements for that area. In our zoning code, we don't speak to flag lots whatsoever. However, in chapter 148, our land development requirements, it does speak to flag lots. So there was an anomaly between the two code sections. As a zoning officer, I required them to get the variance
Okay.
because if you look at the zoning code specifically, there's no reference to it.
okay.
So that's what they did.
Oh, okay.
They came in and they said they recognized the difference between the two sections of our code. They requested a variance. They showed that it wasn't going to cause any undue safety issue, and they were granted that relief. So that's kind of why they had to do that.
Okay.
But in looking at the mailing list, I don't. A lot of it is current resident. I don't see Radnor Township in any way, shape, or form called out specifically. So we can certainly take your recommendation and forward it to them.
Yeah, and I will actually reach out to the Radnor Township EAC as a courtesy as well, just to bring them up to speed on that, because we are shared partners and neighbors. And, you know, anything we can do, we have to really respect our neighbors and work together. So I'll reach out to them as well and make them aware of the situation so that they can pursue it from their angle. All right. My question too is, why would they, even though, you know, you're saying it's right outside the riparian buffer, why would they want to build a property within, close to the proximity to that floodplain? Because from what I understand, that area is zoned as Zone A and Zone AE.
Based upon our floodplain.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the requirement is that they stay out of the floodplain, right? The riparian buffer zone is another issue that they have to contend with.
Right,
To answer your question as to why they placed it there,
right.
I think it's simply because of the adjacent areas of steep and very steep slope. So I think that there's only, as I can see, as I'm looking at page C2 or sheet C2 on the land development plan, there's a very kind of limited, even though it's a large property, there's a limited area where they can
Flat enough.
Yeah.
flat enough to build the home.
Right.
And that's why you're seeing it kind of get to be closer to that wetland
Right.
and that riparian buffer zone.
Yeah. And I didn't go, I was only on the property from Sawmill because I didn't want to go on private property, but I didn't see how, you know, Thomas's Run, what that looks like in terms of how it is on a normal day. And I know the properties above that already experiencing, you know, like the when you're looking right up, further up by Timber.
Yep.
Those properties are already experiencing flooding issues. And when you go down Sawmill during storms, the debris has washed out onto the street. So
And
that
here
gives
again,
us-
you know, we've talked about this on prior occasions. The difficulty that we face is
our ordinances.
the storm events that they have to build to and design to are the 100-year flood event. And as you said, we experience that far more often than every 100 years.
Right.
You know, so that's where we find ourselves. So as long as they're meeting that code requirement, and they're not building within the floodplain, and they're providing the riparian buffer zone and all of the vegetation needed to not affect the wetland areas,
Right.
I think they're meeting our code. What we can try to do is ask for additional assurances, but I don't think that we can ask them to over design for specific flood event, because that's, you know, there's nothing that we can say 200-year event, but
Right.
if we get a 300-year event, storm is still going to flood.
Although.
And I don't think the concern, I think that, yes, will there be that water course, will that flood? Will that overtop its bank? The answer is probably yes. However, it should not affect the home.
Right.
Okay.
And we've got to make sure it doesn't affect the driveway and the culvert there.
Right.
So there are the key points and areas that I think we've got to be concerned with as far as design, and that's what the township engineer is reviewing.
Right.
Right. I think we know the direction which we
Right.
need to.
So do you want to make a motion, or we'll make a motion to set up a contact form regarding this property, which will recommend that the repair and buffers not be at 25 feet, but be at 50 feet. We'll ask for a wetland study, a wildlife impact study. We'll ask that plants be added to the steep slopes. And we'll ask for identification of plants that
The
there are.
trees.
the
right,
trees-
the Trees and
Trees
bushes,
and bushes,
shrubs,
and request them to be native.
yes.
And I think the other issues regarding that signet, does anyone want to make second that motion?
I second.
A
motion.
second, okay. Motion was made for us to send a comment letter regarding 3111 Sawmill Road. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, motion stands. Perfect. All right, great. So we'll get that all, and well, that's another issue we'll discuss later as to who will facilitate that contact form, but we will get that off because this is really important.
Well, it's going to go to our planning commission,
Yeah.
so if you send it to me or to Heather Hastings, you'll be able
Yeah.
to get it.
We
Or
have-
even to Rose,
we-
Rose Vanicola would also.
Actually,
get it.
Jamie is our contact person for our EAC person, so we would probably go through her.
Okay.
Yeah, we were given our new.
If
marching-
you've got those instructions, I
We've
don't
got
wanna-
our
I
marching
don't want
orders.
to undercut you in any way, shape, or form.
All right, that's great. All right. Okay, future land development. Oh, this is even better that we have, you're on for a couple of issues tonight, Andy, so you get a funding. All right.
That's okay.
Item number 10, new business. We are discussion, update and possible action for the Delaware County Sustainability Plan. And we're going to coordinate with the Township Sustainability Officer regarding the township requirement for plan. We're going to break into working groups to see how we can support both the township and the county's plan so we can prioritize our shared goals. So I did send out the sustainability plan. Did everyone get a chance to, I mean, I know
Yes.
it's really deep, so I'm not expecting us to, it's 124 pages, lofty goals from the county, which is phenomenal. However, I did not see any funding sources, which concerns me. But they have 4 areas that are their guiding principle, which is economic stability, education, governance, equality, inclusion, and justice. And they're planning to focus on 6 areas, which is climate resiliency, health and wellness, energy and efficiency, natural resources, transportation, and their goal for zero waste. So obviously, we're not going to be able to go into it, but our goal would be to kind of set all of us up to maybe tackle some areas of the plan. And I was hoping we can.
I've already chosen mine.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And we are going to work with Suzanne because she is the Township Sustainability Officer. And there's some things I wanted to ask you, Andy, a brownfield study. What's involved with that? Is that something we can look to do for the township? Is it to our benefit to even have that knowledge?
Honestly, I wouldn't have an answer for
Okay.
you. I would have to ask probably our township engineer.
Yeah,
as
if you
to
could.
How we would go about that.
Could just do an exploratory, and I'll tell you why. The county is asking, right now, there's only one of the 49 town municipalities that has that completed. But it's part of their goals to have that completed. And I don't know if, it's something, it's a cost perspective, is it knowledge maybe, because once you become aware of that, that's also a concern too. So if we can just get an idea of what's involved and we can make an informed decision.
I'll put the question out. to-
Perfect, great. Janet, what are your thoughts in terms of groups and what would you like to be focused on?
Well, I've already kind of been working with composting.
Oh, perfect.
I've taken a number of webinars from the local sustainable practices.
Okay, so that's the zero waste
That's-
focus of the plan.
Yes,
Okay.
right,
Okay, so I'm
exactly.
gonna put you in under zero waste phase,
All right.
okay?
I've, on that same topic, I've been reaching out to Transition Town Greater Media,
Oh, yes.
right? And Linda, who came to speak with us about spraying for mosquitoes, put me on their mailing list, and they are looking to include us in food composting as the ultimate recycling. So I'm going to be sitting in on this and
Perfect.
hearing exactly what they do, because I know media already, Vero already has all of their residents able to collect their composting materials. In addition, Haverford Township, through the Recreation Department, is offering an online composting at home. So that's another aspect that
Perfect.
I'll tune into to see how we could do that. I'm trying to get as much information as I can so that when we go to present whatever, we could speak with some knowledge of what's going on around us and what we feel would be the best state of building. With that, I do know that the county council has applied for a $50,000 grant to have a composting area someplace within the county to be able to collect for
Awesome.
all of the municipalities. They don't know yet whether or not they've gotten that contract, but I did speak with Dr. Taylor about that, and she told me it should come in by the end of September, so that's around the corner.
Oh, that's great. All right, so we're gonna put for the purposes of the county sustainability plan and for us to really kind of work together in coordination with the township. What I think might be helpful is we take their 6 areas and maybe put 2 of us on each type of committee, and it might be 2. So I'm gonna put you down, Janet, for zero waste, and
Yes.
I'm gonna check with everyone else. What other committee would you like to be on? And if you look at those, again, it's climate resiliency, health and wellness, energy and efficiency, natural resources, transportation, and zero waste. So we want to align with what the township is and the county is asking us and our township goals. You think on that for a second, Joe, what areas of their particular 6 areas of focus that you find? Climate resiliency, health and wellness, energy and efficiency, natural resources, transportation, and zero waste. You know, you came up with a great idea about the trash. Maybe should we put you under energy and efficiency
Sure.
and transportation?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know if you ever heard that we had, Joe had come up with trying to look into if we could reduce the number of trash providers in the area because we have 8 or 9.
I was aware of that.
Yeah, but we couldn't because of the class 2 and we
Right.
tried everything. And it's just about information and knowledge, but we are seeing that the market, as being capitalist, the market always provides a way as well. So waste management no longer picks up, but they subcontract with Oppenheimer or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
Oppenheimer. They're my company. I love them. They're great. So whatever company they are, they're coming into one, which is great because that's one more truck that's coming off
Good.
the road.
That's great.
All right, so
So Francine
Transportation.
Locke, who is the
Yes.
sustainability, I don't know whether it's
Yes.
coordinator for the county, was going to look into whether or not class 2 townships can have a single use or single provider, rather than having to have each of us contract with
Right.
our own. Because she felt that would be an option for us, even though we're a class 2.
all
And I
right,
think Cindy came across a couple of other class 2 townships that have gone that direction.
all right. So Janet, I have Joe Pinto down for transportation and energy efficiency, which will be the area he will focus on, and we're gonna make sure you get a partner too.
Okay.
Janet, I have you down for zero waste. What
Yes.
other thing would you like? Climate resiliency? Would you like transportation? Would you like energy and efficiency or natural resources or health
Well,
and
let's say
wellness?
natural resources.
Okay, let me put you down for
I'm all for
natural,
planting more.
natural resources.
We have
And
to
when you
help
look
our
at the plan,
colleagues.
and when you look at the county plan, and remember too, we're gonna take their goals and see what the township wants to do as well, and then work together. Because we really want to support the county and we want to make sure that, we support the township's initiatives as well. I will reach out to Dane and Cindy to see what areas they want to focus on, and then I will just jump in with kind of what's left over, because that's it. So the motion was made that we will be going into working groups. We don't need to take any particular action on that because we won't have a quorum in any particular group. And we will coordinate with Suzanne or anything we do in the township. All right, perfect. Item number 10.2. This is discussion, update, and possible action to apply for the fall 2023 DCCD's $500 mini grant. There's no match required from the township. We are going to apply for educational signage for native plants installation and literature displays. And the second part of that would be to update on documentation to close out 2 DCCD grants already received and implemented. So this was Cindy's issue. I think what we just need to do is take a motion for EAC to apply for we're going to take a motion for EAC members to apply for the fall 2023 DCCD's $500 mini grant. And this will be for educational signage. We just need to have this motion taken because we have to empower our EAC member, Cindy Mahalo, to be able to go out and do this in support with the township. So all in favor of having a motion, I make a motion to have EAC member Cindy Mahalo, apply for the fall 2023 DCC $500 mini grant. There is no cost to the township for this, and this is going to be used for educational signage for our native plant installation and literature displays. Anyone seconding that?
I'll second.
Okay. Seconded by Janet Carvanas. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion stands. Perfect. All right, we're going to just make a motion to update. And all it is the documentation. This was a grant that we've already finished, completed. We just need to finish out the reporting parts to DCCD. I don't think we even need to make a motion on that, do we, Andy? Because all we're doing is closing out a grant that was already received and accepted. It's just, I think Cindy, if she wants to add anything to that, we will make sure that she's on the notes for the bank, but that should be a relatively simple process. All right, and item number 11.1, old business. This is discussion and possible actions on the reusable bags with the township sustainable logo. So update on reusable bags with the township sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition logo that have been ordered. They will be in Tuesday, September 26th. We have 350 bags. And I'm going to break into what we're doing with these bags, and they're cloth, 100% cloth. So I'm going to break into what we're doing with these particular bags. They'll
Were
be,
they green in color or?
because we use cotton, you don't
Yeah.
want to have a green bag because
Okay.
that would have to be a plastic like, so we wanted a natural cotton bag with a green logo on there. So that will be green. And I think Dane, I can ask him to send out, the township has ordered them. They've been paid for. We will have them this Tuesday. We have 350 bags that will coming. 50 bags will be used. And if you look down later in this agenda, you'll see we need to coordinate with the township or the library to have the residents take a pledge to reduce their use of plastic bags and offer them a free bag. So we have asked the library, we will give them 50 of those bags.
All right.
We will take a pledge note, which will just be a flyer for residents of Newtown who agree to the terms of trying to reduce their plastic. And just those individuals, there's no signage or anything else. They can get their free bag at the township library. We will also support that with social media, so residents know that they can quote, take the pledge and come in and get their bag. So that's for 50 of the bags.
So I have a question. Could they take pictures of the people
That would be fine.
who?
As long as, I guess we'd have to, only thing about that
They
is
wouldn't
we'd
have to
get-
identify who it is. but
Yeah,
just say,
because-
I took the pledge.
we have to ask permission. If we can do that,
Yes,
would be
right.
great. Because then we'd have to have a photo disclaimer and a, clearance and all if we're going to use it. But I love that idea, Janet.
Mhm.
And we will, the library is 100% supportive of that, and they're going to allow us to do that. So I'm really thrilled about that. With the other 150 bags, this is item right below that, which is we need EAC member to organize and coordinate the fall community outreach table events at various stores with Acme's, Gentili's for reusable bag giveaways and community engagement tables. So I've spoken with Acme and I want to get the official, I spoke with one manager, but I really need to get the official manager's permission. And with 150 of those bags, I really want, John, I was hoping maybe you and Cindy could coordinate maybe having a community outreach table at different times during the week that we would be able to engage with people outside of Acme who use these bags and try to encourage them to use, a cloth bag or a non-plastic bag. And what would be nice, it could be random. It could be a Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock or a Saturday at 9, whatever works for our schedule. But I just wanted somebody to kind of organize that. And then we could have a variety of events. We get 150 bags for that effort. And I think it's great. We would just take, 20, 25 bags at a time. So we would get a variety of demographics and people and kind of really have a chance to talk to people, and just one bag per person, but it will just be a chance to engage with a person and
Are we
say,
going to take a poll as to, curious as to why one would want to use or choose
That-
to use, or?
that would be great.
Right.
Anything we could do.
I think we need to get them before they go in.
Exactly.
Rather than when they come out with
All right,
5 or
so-
6 plastic.
Exactly. So, and can I get you and Cindy to maybe organize and coordinate that event, and all of us will.
I don't want to speak for Cindy.
Okay.
But I mean, I'll be glad to man that table.
You'll be,
on some of-
right, but what I need to do is somebody who can coordinate organizing, events at different times. And again, we don't want just, the Saturday morning. We want a time that works for everyone's schedule. So if you're an 8 o'clock in the morning person and maybe a 5 o'clock person, all we want to do is get a chance to get in front of the actual user and, ask them why they're using the plastic bags or why are they, instead of forcing them to not use plastic bags, we want to engage to see what and understand why they're doing what they want to do and give them an alternative naturally by offering them a free bag.
So this, and Acme has agreed to us doing a tabling out there?
I've spoken with I've got a first level, the manager approval, but I need to get with the bigger head, and I'm speaking with her on Saturday morning. So that's part of our plans, because I actually want them to be more sustainable in their business as well. And we want to see what happened with Paoli, which they are aware of. So instead of forcing
Tell us what happened with Paoli.
Paoli, Acme has a full plastic bag ban, but
Yes.
individuals have to pay for their brown
Right.
bags.
Yeah.
And so,
Radnor has that too,
yeah, Radnor does. And so they know Acme's around them have had that
Right, yeah.
consequences. And I've spoken with the Acme and Paoli, and they had some negative responses because people did not like that. They especially didn't like when they're being charged to take a bag and they take a huge offense. And actually there's a sign up there that says, this was something that they had to do. They didn't have any choice. So we're trying to take a supportive role in engaging the community and changing behavior instead of trying to force the issue, because we are a class 2 township and we really want to work with our businesses and support them be successful. So if we help change behavior, we can help people become aware of the issue and they will want to make the change.
Well, that's a question I have. I mean, if we have a limited number of bags based upon the success, is there a possibility that we would obtain more? And yeah, because one bag for individual households,
Yep.
Let's face it, that's not a whole lot.
Exactly.
So would there be some initiative that we would take afterwards, after that first 500 went out the door, to re-engage and purchase more and maybe go back into the community and offer them at a flat rate?
Right. We will, with that's 150 for the Acme and the 50 for the library.
Right.
The other 150 we're going to be giving out to our sustainable businesses. And again, the township can't afford to fund all the bags,
right,
but
right.
we are definitely.
No, I mean, but we would recover our costs.
Yes.
I mean, I think that there maybe could be a future plan to sell them at cost.
Right.
If you folks are willing to go out there into the public and offer them, it would be nice for an individual going into the Acme, instead of just getting the one, be able to purchase for 3 more.
Right. And all of these businesses like Acme sells those bags available. And what we're trying to do is remove the obstacles or maybe make
Sure.
somebody aware of it. So we don't expect those 150 bags to solve the problem. All we're trying to do is take the time to re-educate, speak to somebody, make them aware of the situation, and they'll walk out of there that day with knowledge. And you know what? They might just use one last plastic bag, but it's kind of like you said, we can see what we can do. And from a budget perspective, we have some dollars that might be able to at the end of
Right.
this year, or we could look to reprioritize that if we already submitted our 2024 budget, but there's always an opportunity to look for those things. And if we were able to recoup some of the costs, that would be a totally different issue,
Yeah.
But we already have purchased these bags. I think, Janet, can I count on you to organize that? And I will check with Cindy to see if she can do it with you.
How many times are we talking about doing this?
Basically, I would think it's probably, 5
Every
times.
day.
No, God, no.
Every
no.
day for the next 3 weeks.
No, I think what we would do is take like 20, 25 bags out at a time, because you want to get different days for different type of buyers. You don't want to just have the Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And Tuesday is senior day at Acme. So that's a great day, because those individuals might be inclined to listen to that. And then we go on a Wednesday evening. So we only have to do this for 4 or 5 times. I would like to do more, but I'm trying to be realistic, and I will, of course, be participating in this too. I just need somebody to coordinate it so that we can take advantage of different times, different types of end users, and make sure that we are targeting a new kind of message out there.
Right, and I think we would have to decide how many we're giving away on one day, because we probably
We
give them
could
all
easily,
away on one
and
day.
the point really is not to give away the bag. The point is to engage with somebody, and only somebody who takes the time to talk with you will get the bag. You know what I mean? Because we also, if they're coming to the table and we're out of bags, it gives us an opportunity to talk about Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition. It gives us an opportunity to talk about trees, native plants. So we have Birdtown, see? So we have a lot more than just giving away, because information is critical for everyone to make an informed decision about what they're doing with their behavior. And if we can't get people to change their behavior, we're not going to be able to do anything. So people have to take personal responsibility. So I've got that with Janet. And then the other person is the update on Sustainable Green Business Coalition Program. So that the third group will go out in the 150 for those businesses. And Dane and I, again, like forerunners, some types, you know, SEP, they don't need those bags. We're going to look at the lower, you know, like the businesses that use bags and trying to encourage them to change
Mhm.
behavior and maybe give them 15, 20 bags. We're just giving them a slight amount. We're not, you know, funding
Right.
all of their bags. It's really about getting them to change their buyers' behavior as well. And when we do all of that, we'll be bringing out our green business pamphlets. We bring out our green business tags for them to put at the front door. So that's our 350 bags altogether.
A sticker that, you know, I that it could be placed when somebody, you know, when you go to vote, you get a sticker, I
Right.
voted.
Well, we have these,
Right, but those are expensive.
right?
I'm just thinking about something that's cheap, you know.
Oh, okay,
I support,
they're sustainable, but we do have the decals for the front of the business doors.
yes.
Right.
I'm just talking about individuals.
Individual.
You go to vote, you get a little sticker you wear if you're proud of voting.
Yeah,
I'm proud of, well, that's just another thought.
Yeah.
It crossed my mind.
I think we can think of, maybe we
Oh,
can go
you've
back
got
and think of
stickers,
that.
see? He's got stickers
Yeah.
all over. right?
I think if we can look at something that we can afford to do and maybe we can talk with some of our business.
We might look around and see what's already been produced in terms of
Right.
supporting sustainability.
Right. And I think what we're looking at is how do we change behavior, and by meeting people where they are at the supermarket and making them aware of it. Because I know people who have adamantly said to me, I want my plastic bag. I use my plastic bag, I recycle it. And you know,
Kitty litter, that's what I've heard. I
yeah,
put kitty litter in it.
yeah. And other people have said, how can you charge me for a bag when you put the ham in a plastic bag? I buy milk in a gallon in a plastic jug. I mean, they've given me 15 things, which are all legitimate. So again, we are trying to,
But that's at a larger level,
Yeah.
like the milk in a
Exactly.
plastic jug is the company
Right.
that produces the milk, like that's not, you know, if there's a company that produces milk in Newtown Township, then we can talk to them, but we
Right.
can't go, you know.
but where we go back to is, I don't know if any of you have lived long enough, but Swiss Farms used to, back in the 70s, have a reusable
Yeah.
bag that I mean, the milk gallon was out of it.
Or
Remember
glass,
that?
came in glass.
Came in glass.
too.
Glass before
I
that.
remember glass.
Yeah.
I remember,
I remember glass and cartons.
oh, Swiss
Cardboard
Farms in
cartons.
the 70s, they
Yeah.
came out with this super heavy plastic and you returned it, Jay, you can remember that?
Yeah.
You returned it to get new, and you had to return it to get the 15 or 20 cents off your gallon of milk.
I-
But they're the kind of things that people change behavior and they demand from their businesses for them to change the behavior. And that's why we're kind of trying to work with Acme to see what they can do. Same thing with Gentili's. We'll meet with them, but I really want to kind of target Acme right now because we're going into the fall season. We're going into heavy purchase time, entertainment, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So if we can get people to change
What about the Giant? Is that's not in Newtown Square?
No.
It's in Edgemont.
Edgemont, and that's things, but we will.
But you do have Whole Foods as well.
Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah, but Whole Foods already.
They do
uses-
not use
Yeah.
glass.
I
Yeah.
believe they actually have a glass milk jug too.
Yes, and they have, their takeouts are now the
Paper.
the wax paper type of
They're
wrap,
lined.
yeah.
Right.
So
Yes,
it's
they
just
say they are compostable.
great. All right, so this is where we have Andy on board. So update on Newtown Township's comprehensive plan recommendations and EAC wetland study recommendation. The township enacting recommendation from the comprehensive plan for the wetlands and the riparian buffer ordinances. Also, the EAC recommendations to have the ordinances amended that wetland studies be valid for only 5 years. And we are expecting a draft of the new ordinance. So I heard it is coming. The problem it is not here today.
It is not here today. I know that. I don't know. I assume Mr. Neese had explained that it was coming
Yes.
and it's probably in the hands of Mr. Sikora, who is out of the country at the moment. He's on vacation. I don't know where that falls in his workload.
Right.
But as I said, I understand that he is working on it.
Right.
That's the best I can offer.
And what I think we wanted to do is make sure that, and you've done a great job at looking at all the ordinance and you and Zach have tightened up anything that we can. And from what I understand, that this draft is going to be full encompass everything that your recommendations, what we've already asked to recommend, in addition to closing the door on that 5-year stipulation that wasn't an issue
Right.
before. So we're looking forward to that. That is hopefully in our October packets, Zach, right? We're gonna have that definitely.
We'll certainly keep our fingers crossed.
I will tell you,
And I can reach out, to Mr. Sikora
if you
when
could,
he returns.
because if not, Santa will be bringing him coal for
No,
his.
wait, we're not using coal anymore.
Oh, okay. Some natural alternative, hell done. For his Christmas, if we don't get this for October, but we would love that. All right, and now that we've beaten you up on that one, here we're going to go to 11.3, which is the update and possible action on the weed, meadow, lawn alternative ordinance. Update the township's weed ordinance to help residents with lawn conversions, meadows, natural lands, and lawn alternatives. So I understand they're still working this one out. And I understand there is some concerns from residents regarding property, individual rights and respect for that. I know Cindy and Janet worked really hard on that, but we did send in a recommendation. Springfield Township, what they do is their EAC members go out to properties and verify that these are in fact like lawn conversions and lawn matters and natural, not just somebody who isn't properly taking care of the property. Because ordinances are great, but like Zach and you are the ones that have to go out and contend with
Correct.
this issue. And there's some gray areas for people who maybe just don't want to take care of their properties and using that as an excuse. So
Yeah, we want to make sure it's clearly defined.
exactly,
And we can identify what is now going to become a meadow. and
Right.
What is an unkept property
exactly,
in violation of the ordinance.
right,
So I think that's where it's at now.
right,
And here again, we've provided some information in regard to what the property maintenance code, how that speaks to lawn maintenance and weeds and vegetation. Here again, I'm just going to have to defer to Mr. Sikora,
okay,
as I would assume he's looking at that and going to dovetail what we currently have with what these new proposals may be.
well, maybe if you just add that layer that we could copy what other municipalities have done, and the EAC has gone out and they provide the property with the sign. So it kind of keeps you from getting phone calls, but again, they go back and work with the resident to make sure they're in compliance, because nobody wants an unsightly property.
Right,
And
exactly.
we want to make sure that these properties, that those individuals who want to get rid of their turf grass be given an opportunity that they can have a beautiful meadow and, something. And we wanted to make sure it's viewed as a positive change for all residents, because
Right.
we're all in this together, and what one person does on their property is connected with everyone else. So any other thoughts on that, Janet?
Well, I just want to make sure that what we enact is something that allows people to have a little bit messy yard, because you have to, if you really want to support life, wildlife, you have to make sure that you leave your leaves kind of where they are, and you don't cut things back all the way. I think we just need a new perspective on how we treat the earth. So we here in Newtown Square have that opportunity to move it forward, maybe a little bit further than what people want, but in the direction that it supports sustainability.
Well, you gave the guidelines, and I
Yes,
think
we
Steve,
did.
the 10-foot outer, remember there was a property line, you had to like 10 feet in, you had to be
Right.
maintained.
If you
Yeah.
cut along the sidewalk,
and-
so it shows the intentionality.
Intention, yeah,
And again, I mean, I think the property maintenance code does not get into things like cultivated wheat or
Right.
cultivated flowers and shrubbery and those types of things. We have a height limitation on grass, which I think is
I think 14
fairly,
inches, I think.
I mean, it's 10 or 12 inches,
I
so.
thought it was like 14 even.
No, it's not quite not
Oh.
that tall, but I mean, I believe it's at least 10. So I think that's, a fair amount of,
Leeway.
Right.
allowing it to grow and not quite be as kept as a golf course would be,
Right.
as most people keep
With
their
the
gardens.
scissors.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that there's already things in the property maintenance code that allows a certain
Flexibility,
degree of flexibility.
right?
Well, great. Well, what we'll do is we'll continue to work with that and making sure. If you can just let them know that the EAC is anxious to get something, so we
Sure.
can get working on that. And then we can give feedback. And I'm sure that Janet and Cindy, who worked hard on that, would love to see
Yeah,
something.
right.
And we can work from there. And we totally appreciate your concerns because you're the ones that would have to enforce anything. We want to make sure it's,
It never makes sense to prepare an ordinance and create all of this
Yep.
criteria and have it completely unenforceable.
absolutely.
Or even unusable to the residents. I
Yeah.
mean, the goal is for people to be able to use it and work within that framework.
Perfect. All right, and so that is, before we go into additional comments from EAGC members, I want to bring up. We had our committee of committees agenda the other evening. And as you know, Steve Bradley is gone, so we have, I did send our email that we're working with Jamie now,
Yes,
who will be working that. And that's fabulous. Rose is going to finish, closing out a couple things with us with getting the bags and all that, but she will still be there for us. In addition, the township is considering now, instead of having the magazine, which we have every quarter, they're looking to do, and they're going to test this, an electronic monthly newsletter. So they're going to look at having a sign up at the website. So what that gives us an opportunity is to have monthly news content being prepared and sent out. So if you can, maybe come up with some ideas for the next newsletter, and I believe that will be starting in the new year in January. So if you can maybe fill out in your mind, Janet and Joe, like, a January, February story already in your, in your file, that way when it's time to roll it out.
So
Steve,
is this in lieu of the actual quarterly?
yep,
Okay, so that you could do something with regard to road salt.
yeah, yep. And
so the hope is that everyone's gonna open this electronically.
yeah, well, they're
But
gonna
we
be,
don't have a lot of,
Do
well,
we have email addresses?
well, the township, this is what they're doing, is there's going to be a news flash, and the township is going to do a sign up on the website. It will be on the township website. We will be pushing this information out there from the township, and we will all want to encourage this because, it is an environmentally friendly way for them. Instead of printing a magazine, posting the magazine, sending it out, it's a way to communicate with everyone in a digital format, which is an environmental win. So it just is hard because communicating with residents is very difficult because we want to kind of make sure that they get involved in the process as well. So when we're at our community engagement tables, we can make them aware of that and encourage them to sign up for these newsletters. The township has come up with this idea. It's going to be tested.
I'm sure it's probably cheaper, because it's
Well-
expensive to send out to 6,000.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, what they find is some residents don't read them and they wind up in the trash. And listen, it's very difficult because the whole point is you're trying to the township tries constantly to get the information out. And it's very difficult because people have to open the letter and read it. And if they don't look at the magazine, but they're trying this way and we want to support it because for us, it's an environmental win. They're not printing off magazines, they're not posting it, which the mail person has to carry around. I mean, there's a lot of environmental costs
If
for
people
this,
read it.
if people read. So what we will do is we will support the township in this initiative and we will encourage people to get on the website and sign up, but that will be for the new year. There is this magazine coming out in the fall in early December, because we put in, Janet, your story, we put in sustainable tips on how to be more sustainable. We put in a reminder about not using plastic bags. We put in a lot of great content, but we get an opportunity now to put it up more frequently in a digital format. And so the township will be doing that and we'll support them. In addition, the township has come up with a comprehensive volunteer list, which is awesome. because this is a collection of emails that they're going to manage for us. So when we do have a planting or any type of event, we can share with that. And again, it's voluntary. People are sharing their emails, but the township is having a contact person for that. And that is positive, and that's a great for us. And again, anytime we have information, we will be able to support getting it out through the digital magazine. In addition, remember, anything we have from social content, we can always still, that goes through Rose. If we want to put out reminders on any particular issue. So we always get an opportunity to connect with people, but we have to encourage people to seek information. And that would be what we're going to do when we're out dealing with businesses and the sustainable plan or the community outreach table.
Maybe start by sending a postcard to everyone
That's a great idea.
that says we are now converting to. And please check us out.
That's
Online.
Janet, that's a great idea. I'll mention that to Steve Neese. Fabulous. All right, and they are using this group called the Dandelion Group to do that. And so as I said, and they're gonna be pushing this out. So I think that's really, actually, it's a positive for the township. And also, like you said, it saves on the postage, it saves on the printing, the cost. And being information digitally, we can get more information out instead of just the limited 1 page or 2 pages that we've been presently doing.
So, and this would also include like Newtown Square and Bloom, Parks and Recs. And, all right, so it has been on my mind that when I look at what media does, media has transitioned town greater media,
Right,
and they have so much information on that
I
particular
know.
thing that comes out. Haverford has Haverford Township Recreation Department, and on that Haverford Township, they have, again, so many of these organizations that they have. Not all of them are like appointed boards,
right.
right? So they can put on a lot of information, and I think it would be in our best interest to develop something that.
So the
is-
transitional town, what happens is, and that's not a government, they're
I
not part of
understand
that. So I had talked with Paul to see if that could be something that he could umbrella under Newtown Square and Bloom, because
Right,
that would be a
yes.
great way to parallel.
But I
Because,
think it has to be wider than just Newtown Square and Blue.
right, but that type of organization doesn't need to be confined within the township structure. So it
No,
could be
correct.
something that we would love to support. But it wouldn't, because we're limited in terms of what we can do within our role of the EAC.
It all has to be vetted.
Right, but that's a separate organization, transitional
okay.
town media, they work and their goals align with their EAC and their township, but
Yes.
they're a separate entity and they're
Yeah, I
fabulous.
understand that.
Because they also do their biodiversity group. I mean, they have 10 different types of group in the transition town media. So
Right.
it is definitely something to consider. Maybe we can
Right.
get people to engage in that and set that up, because that would be totally outside of government too. And they
Right.
have free reign to do whatever they want to do,
Right.
you know?
So when I want to post something, perhaps from Birdtown, I always send it to Newtown Square and Bloom,
Right,
because I know it can get on there.
right. But
Right.
Rose is sending out anything for us in social media. So that will, Rose will send out anything that you've got going on. And let me just give in a couple of our other tidbits for October. We have the October, you want to mention that? Or I'll let that go for you, your October 7th bird walk. You can go over all the details on
Oh,
that.
it's October the 8th, yes, and it is, the sign up is live now.
I thought it was the
at
7th because the 8th is the Monday.
October the 7th.
Okay, okay.
It's a
You confused me
Saturday.
there. Yes, it's a Saturday. Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
And the CRC website does have it, a sign up sheet now.
Yep.
Uh,
And they have an Eventbrite ticketing.
yes.
Yeah.
They do.
Great. So that, you want to mention anything else where that is at?
Where it's at the,
Garrett Williamson?
Garrett Williamson, thank you, I always want to put it backwards. Starting at 8 o'clock
Perfect.
to 10, right?
That's awesome. And that'll be available, the tickets are available.
Yes,
No
no cost.
CRC at no cost, and fabulous event. And this is supported by Garrett Williamson, by CRC and Newtown Township EAC. That's
And
awesome.
Birdtown.
And Birdtown. Awesome. October 14th, Garrett Williamson is having their fall. And I know, Fall Festival, I know Cindy had mentioned doing a community table there, but since she's not here tonight, has anyone heard if she would be, or she wanted to coordinate that, but I will have to reach out with her. Because I will be here.
Well,
All right.
I'm doing a table event with Birdtown at Smedley Park.
Oh, okay.
30th,
Oh, awesome.
yes.
Okay, but I think
30 or?
Smedley
Park.
Park.
No, I said, is it October 30 or
September
September?
September 30th.
September
September 30th.
30th.
Yeah. All right, I will check with Cindy about the Garrett Williamson table because she was going to have an EAC presence at that, and I'll just clarify if she is, and if she does, we can support her. I know last month at our meeting, Steve Neist was going to give us an update on stormwater. And I know since he can't be here tonight, I just probably update what was going on. Do you know anything?
In regard to like campus.
Yeah.
Project.
Anything?
I'm sorry,
Oh, okay.
Bob and I along. That's been here, so I don't have it.
Okay, there is, I don't know if Cindy reached out to you, but there's that September 29th information session from the DEP on that chapter, I believe, what is it, the 105 new regulations that are coming out regarding ways to mitigate issues with wetlands. And I know Cindy wanted to discuss it tonight, but we said it's probably better to after the DEP does their information training session. I think it's chapter 105. Did you get an email from Cindy?
But I know I got
Right.
one. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'll check with her because it's September 29th. The DEP is doing an information training session and it will be on new chapter, I believe it's 105 regarding wetlands. And ways to eliminate, yeah, so I will check with Cindy because she was going to forward it to you. I asked her to forward it to you. And then an EAC representative is going to be on that call as well. But I'll just make sure that you've got the information. And if not,
That would be helpful.
if not, I will send it to you, Andy,
Okay.
tonight. All right.
Thanks.
And also I will be attending the We Can Serve EAC recommendation for ordinance adoption. So we'll be able to make sure Andy gets all of our ordinances adopted because EAC We Can Serve PA will be giving me all the recommendations on how to hold them accountable.
I like that.
That's actually really good. And also, that is EAC's fall gathering is in October, so you're all registered for that. And Cindy, has any other comments, do you think? Did she bring you up to speed on things?
She did not
Okay,
send me anything.
all right. So Joe,
Yes.
what do you have to add to our table before we get into public comments? Because we don't have anyone for the public items for the next agenda, but anything you have before we get into items for the
Nothing
next
right
agenda? All right, awesome.
Nothing new at this point.
All right, perfect. All right, Cindy mentioned that she doesn't want to, she's been busy with things and doing the form. She's recommending that we take another direction in terms of doing those forms. Is anyone interested in doing those forms? Because Cindy has mentioned that she wanted to step back from that.
Not
Yeah.
on, not
Joe.
on.
Yeah, so, okay, well, we will, we'll add that to the
I will
next agenda.
Consider it.
Right,
Although one needs to be done, like.
well, I will
by
have to do,
tomorrow.
I'll have to do that. After I go to my EAC function tonight, I will have to get that done myself. So hopefully I can get that done in the middle of the day. Get that. And
When does that do?
that is due by 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Good enough.
Yeah, so what I will have to do is get, and you know what, because it is a comment, it's a form. Do
I
I,
could just do the short form.
yeah, do I need to send it to everyone? I guess I'll send it to everyone. Yeah, I'll send it to everyone to give your
Well, I think
blessing.
you mentioned what we were going to include.
Yes.
About the
Wetland
wetlands.
study,
Right.
wildlife study.
Yep.
Yes, so we know what the content will be.
Right. Well, what I'll do is I'll just send it
Understood.
to you, just make sure, because you can take a look over it and see if I'm missing something, or if I could word it in a better format, or whatever you suggest. And if you can, just get it back to me. And that way I can send it off to Jamie, who is our new person. Anything else for our next item agenda? I will not be here in October. You guys are going to miss me so bad. I'll be, I'll be
So
there.
we hope you're going to be someplace good.
I am going to be someplace fabulous, but anyway. So what do you want to have added for next month's agenda, other than our EAC conference, which everyone will be going to and reporting back to us? Anything else?
Well, we have some time to think about it, right?
Yep. All right, so I will send out an email asking for any I will be adding the DEP class that Cindy will be attending, and any
Okay.
information we can for that ordinance. And I'll add that to our agenda. And if you can get back to me, Janet, about organizing the tables for those community outreach. And again, I think it's really about having the flexibility on what works well for you and Cindy, if that works well. Joe, I know you're booked during the day fully and on weekends, but if you get a chance, Cindy, if Cindy and Janet put together a list, we can jump in and I'll do the same thing and help out. And I know I've been pushing, Dane and I are trying to really go heavily on the businesses ourselves, so I already have him kind of directed in that area, so I don't want to overcommit for Dane, but I know we're all doing the best we can do, and I'm really excited. I think we're getting a lot of things. I think we're gonna see some positive things, especially when our ordinance comes in.
I think it's going to be ready by October.
I know it is.
Andy won't be here,
I'm
but
gonna do my best to make.
You're gonna remind them.
yeah, she won't be here, so.
Well, let's put it this way.
Well, we'll expect comments.
Oh, don't you worry. But listen, and if you get it, I'm gonna send you the county sustainability plan just for you to have an overview. But that would be
Oh, you
great.
haven't seen it?
Andy,
I have not seen the
Oh, really?
updated one. I know
Okay.
Suzanne's. with it.
yeah.
Okay.
And if you can just look into that brownfield, just to kind
Yeah,
of check it in.
have it.
Yeah, and I'll send you this, the county's plan, and my only concern again was, it's a great plan, but there's like no money, and
Right.
they're requiring a lot of things for us. And we're lucky that we have an active EAC. Some towns don't have that. So, and we're lucky that we have a great support staff that's environmentally aware, so we're really positive, but let's get those ordinances close up shop and everything else. All right, I think we are adjourned, right? We have everything done tonight?
Really? Yeah.
Woo-hoo! Adjourned.